Hey guys, Justin Hadlock here. Today we're going to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. Also, again, I'm always doing that, and that is how I turned $200 into a business that grossed over $300K in about a year, maybe a little less or a little bit more than a year. First off, to get a little bit of backstory, that was right when my fiance Cassie had relapsed and she kind of went off the deep end, kicked me out of our life, our business, all the things that we had built together on this piece of property we lived in out in rural Kentucky. When she did, I had no money. So I built everything based off of that. And God rest her soul. I love Cassie and I always will. She's just somebody who lost her fight with addiction. So I do want to take a second to say that there's no resentment, there's no anger about that. And that's a big part of how I was able to do this too, because instead of focusing on what I didn't have, instead of focusing on how hurt I was or all the difficulties I had in front of me, what seemed insurmountable, I just simply focused on the process. Next step, next step, next step, next step. I literally was getting ready to go sign the lease to the place that you see me in right now, which cost me $10,500 for the lease. And that was just as the down payment. That was the day that I found out she passed on. All right. And so if you can imagine the emotional turmoil I was going through, it was gnarly. Okay. I went through all of these things at the same time I was building this business. I had to move. I basically had a marriage breakup. We had been engaged. We owned a house together. We owned a business together. Basically married at that point. My family that we were building broke apart. My business fell apart. I had to move. Like all of the traumatic stuff that psychologists talk about people going through happened to me all at once. Literally getting to the point where I was fully destitute and basically homeless because I was staying in a place that some clients had let me rent out for them and trade for tattoos. What I did was I just, again, focused on the process. What's the next thing? I couldn't sit down and tell you exactly how many different things it took for me to build the business to the point that it is right now. But I can tell you very specifically that I did it by following a process, and that is to find out what I need to do and then break it down into smaller steps and do those steps until they're done. I literally would go through and figure out, okay, well, I need to get a business license in the new area, or, I need to get $10,500 and I have right now $1,000 after I did a couple of tattoos right after I'd moved out. Okay. And so I started saving all the money, spending as little as possible, eating as cheaply as possible until I got that money. I got a cashier's check, went down, paid the deposit, and then did the same thing over again. So I knew that I would have the next month's rent in hand and ready to go. And then I called Lexington up and I was like, what things do I need to do to get a business started? I talked to some of my friends who were business owners in this area because it's a commonwealth and each county is a little bit different. So you have to make sure you're on point with what they need and what that health department, so on, so forth. And so I did all those things. I checked them off. I put my nose to the grindstone and I didn't look up to see how far away the goal was. I just kept doing it, waking up, working, waking up, working. Most people can identify with the idea that tattoo artists usually like to come in late in the day to start their day, sleep in. Most of the tattoo artists I know are like that. I was waking up at 5:30, driving for 2 hours to Lexington, eating when I got here, and then doing construction on this building, getting everything set up for 2 hours. I'd then drive back to West Liberty, tattoo out of the little makeshift house setup that I had made up because of just necessity's sake. Tattooed out of there for 8 to 10 hours, go to sleep, rinse, repeat. Over and over and over again, okay? I literally even got to the point where I had a sleeping bag here in the shop because sometimes I'd work so late that the idea of driving all the way back to Morgan County again was just too much. And so I'd have to wake up early so I could still get all that construction done and then head back and tattoo that day anyway. So it was difficult. Nothing in life that's worth it is ever not going to be difficult. And so really what I'm saying to you now is that you guys focus far too much on the end result. You want to build a $500,000 a year business, which is what this is looking like it's going to be this year. You just do it by the process. You keep your nose to the grindstone and you do the things that will make that happen. Not worry about how far away from the finish line you are, because what will happen in that, you'll realize that the process is the purpose. The process is the thing. LeBron talked about that. Michael Jordan talked about that. All the greats in any field, period, talk about that. The process is the dream. The dream will manifest if the process is followed, but not otherwise. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of pipe dreams. It's a bunch of fancy thoughts and a bunch of fancy words. But again, you don't have to take my word for it, because I promise you, if you do those things, it will work. Make a plan. Break it into smaller steps. Take those steps. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. If it doesn't happen, you're not really doing it. I promise you, you're going to fail a few times. You're going to have some difficulties. But if you keep doing it, if you keep working, you will 1000% every time achieve exactly what you aimed out for. Love you guys. Have a good day.